Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. Today I would like to talk about polearms versus swords. Now before starting today we've got something brief and special. It has to do with my Patreon account. I think most of you know by now that I have a Patreon account. As a matter of fact, I've got quite a few supporters, already 13 I think, which for me is an incredible number of people who are supporting me monetarily. If you want to go and check out my Patreon page, please click in the link below in the description. So first of all, I would like to say thank you to all the people who are supporting me. This is going to help me out, buy new equipment and make more videos and better quality videos. Now, since I am a person who likes to give something back when he receives something, I have decided to create some special rules, which you will find on the page there. Basically, for all those who support me with at least $1 a month, I will be adding their names at the end of each of my videos, just to say thank you for your support. But for those of you who will support me with more than that, and there are several degrees, I have decided to give something back, and that is a personalized message. So, we will have a small Patreon time where I will read a message from one of your supporters. So I can say anything you want. I can say hello to your grandmother in Spanish or French, whatever language you want, or I could simply speak Japanese to your cat. I mean, it's up to you. Of course, the messages will be subject to approval, as I'm a gentleman after all, so there will be some things that I will refuse to say. But yeah, for other things I will do it. So let's get to it. So, the subscriber in question, he calls himself King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem, so this is what I will call him. So first of all, thank you very much for your support, your generous support, King Baldwin IV. But before reading the message, I would like to say that he is a subscriber from Thailand, and as a matter of fact, I have come to know that there is an actual Metatron fan club in Bangkok, Thailand, with a few members. Like, when I first heard this, I was like, wow! Like, I still remember when I had only 30 subscribers, 25 subscribers to my channel. Never could have I ever imagined that there would have been even a fan club. Never mind the number of subscribers that I have now, like 22,000, is like mind-blowing already. But the idea of having a fan club in Bangkok, that is amazing. So I just want to say hello to all my subscribers and fans in Bangkok. Thank you very much for watching and thank you for your support. So yeah, I actually been talking to some of them, and we called the chat Metatron. I thought that was hilarious. Anyways, yeah, let's read the message from King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem. Remember that howsoever you are played or by whom, your soul is in your keeping alone, even though those who presume to play you be kings or men of power. When you stand before God, you cannot say, "But I was told by others to do thus," or "that virtue was not convenient at the time." This will not suffice. Remember that. So, back onto the main topic. Well, before you ask, this is an oaken shot, and it's a spring steel tempered sword. It's a thing of beauty made by Elgar. I have made a video about this. If you want to know more about this, more details about my arming sword, then you can click the link below in the description. Now, swords against polearms. Well, the thing is that often as we imagine these kind of weapons, and whenever we talk about weapons effectiveness, then of course we need to consider whether we're talking about a duel or we're talking about battle. And of course the situations will change dramatically. However, in a situation where we discuss about the effectiveness of polearms against swords, well, I have to say that in my case I would still choose, if I could choose that is, the same weapon in both situations. Now, as much as I love swords, and I am in love with these things, it's my favorite weapon, I have to say that I have been doing quite a lot of sparring lately with my friends, and as a matter of fact, if you're interested, please let me know in the comments below, because if I find enough requests, I will start filming these sparring sessions. And again, none of us is a professional. We are not, I mean, we love Hima, we love Kendo, we love Kenjutsu, but none of us is a master, including me. So it's going to be more for entertainment than anything, but it could be still interesting to see some techniques, and I will put some editing into it and put some interesting music. If you're interested, we will be doing that. So we've been doing quite a lot of sparring, and I've noticed that, you know, I've been sparring a lot of different opponents, and with a sword, sometimes I could do well, some other times I couldn't. Please consider that the way we spar, we consider full body target. So you hit everywhere. We go. So yeah, it's pretty realistic, and basically there are no rules. You can do whatever you want. You can even do grappling. You can do whatever. So you can do half swording. Although when we do half swording, we use specialized weapons. Sometimes we even use shinai because I think they're fine for half swording. Of course, that's a European thing with a Japanese weapon, but we're just having fun together. As long as we are safe and we use some techniques, we are happy about it. And we do a lot of like weapon against polearm, sword and shield against polearm, two swords. Two weapons, or sometimes we do sword and shield against long sword. So there are a lot of things that we tried. And I have to say that with the sword, sometimes I did well, but some other times I did really, really bad. And for example, I even lost 7-3, so it was not that good, I have to say. But when I used a polearm, goodness gracious, sometimes I even managed to get 10-0. Why is that? Personally, I prefer polearms. I think they're much more effective. A sword is good and much better than a mace, for example, in a duel situation, because you can incapacitate. It's easier to incapacitate with this because you can cut, and everywhere you cut anyways you're going to produce bleeding. Maybe if the opponent started bleeding profusely, then most likely he's going to give up the fight. With a mace, I think a mace and a warhammer are much better when your opponent is in armor. If your opponent is not wearing armor, I would definitely go for a sword. But then again, if I have a choice between a sword and a polearm, I'm using a polearm. Now, of course, the first reason is reach advantage. It might sound like an obvious thing, but it's incredible how much you can do. I mean, the idea of keeping the enemy at distance and being able to attack from a safe zone is basically what you want, even when you fight longsword against longsword, for example. And that is one of the things that I don't like about sport fencing and sometimes even kendo. The idea of attacking, as long as you attack first, even if your opponent retaliates, it's okay, you already got the point. But that's not how it works if you want to understand a real duel or a battlefield situation. In a real duel, and I think HEMA is like that, and that's why I respect a lot HEMA, and I hope to be able to study it in the future, is that what you want to do is to hit the opponent without being hit. So the idea of being able to be safe as much as you can when you attack, or maybe attack and cover yourself at the same time, is very important. I'm not saying that that's completely not present in kendo. Sometimes it is, and there are certain techniques that work like that. But if you see the actual tournaments, a lot of people simply don't care. Even during sparring, all they want is just to hit. Even if they're hit afterwards, for example, if you're hit in a place that is not an actual target, then you don't care. But that's one of the problems that I have, and I've actually dedicated a video on this very topic. So the idea of having a polearm which simplifies all this is something that I really like. So reach advantage, being able to attack and deal damage to my opponent without being hit. Now the second thing, of course, is that clearly a lot of people will start saying that yes, it's true, but you can close in, and then again, I can't really say much against that. If you are better than me and you're a very good swordsman, you will close in, and you will probably get rid of my reach advantage. You might even make it harder for me to hit you if you're too close. However, I don't think it's such an easy thing to do. As I was sparring, I'm not sure how much experience you've had in sparring, but if you're an expert and you know more about this, so please let me know in the comments below. But as far as I noticed in my own experience in these months, I've noted that it's not easy. It's easier said than done to get close to a person who's wielding a polearm. Also, because I can change my reach. If I normally, when I fight, I kind of tend to hold my spear like this. I've seen people fight like this, people holding it down. Of course, you can use it one-handed if you wanted, or if you're using a shield. I like two-handed grip with a spear, and I like fighting like this. But again, you can change the reach by simply moving back and forth. So you can even use your spear from a rather close distance. I think that even history kind of backs up my point here. Because if you think about it, the main weapon of a samurai, for example, if we want to move to Japan, was either the yari or the naginata, so the polearm. Secondary weapon, the bow. Third weapon, the katana. And that's obviously not what Hollywood has been teaching us, not what video game subculture has been teaching us. Why? Because weapons like this look cool, and they are. I love them. I love the katana, I love the longsword, I love the arming sword. But in reality, pole weapons were the main weapon. The fact that our ancestors have chosen this, I mean, think of the hoplites in the phalanx fighting with, again, dori, so basically spears. And it's true that the Romans used gladius, but Romans also used astati, and Romans also used pilum, which was not, so the javelin, which was not only used for throwing, but sometimes could also be used as a spear. So again, I'm not trying to say that polearms are always better weapons. There are lots of situation, context that we need to take into consideration, but I've said it in my own experience, if I had to choose, I would go for this and perhaps have a secondary weapon, a sword in my belt, just in case I lose my polearm. Finally, in the last part of this video, I would like to discuss about what I would do if I were the one using a sword against an opponent who was using a polearm. So what kind of strategy I would try to use. So let's first talk about the guard position and how I would face an opponent with the reach advantage. Alright, so let's say that I'm using my weapon two-handed. In that case, well, one position that I would definitely not use is this. So I wouldn't really go for a Fontag or Posta di Donna or Jordan if it's Japanese. I wouldn't really go for something like this, because I think it leaves you too exposed against a person who is already able to hit you from distance. So rather than going for this, I would go for a kind of a closer grip, even a forward grip or even a low grip. And this is something that happens a lot in kendo. When you see naginata against kendo, you will notice that kendo practitioners will start using gedan no kamae, which is normally not used much in other kinds of confrontations, where you normally mostly see jodans, or the high stance, and chudan, the middle stance. So that's the first thing I would do. So I would hold my weapon either in front of me or low to protect my legs. Second thing that I would do, if I could, I would grab a shield immediately. There we go. Now you'll have to excuse the little bit of anachronistic here. I'm using a kite shield and I'm using a 13th to 14th century sword, but again, you know, it still brings up the point, I think. So yes, I would definitely go for a shield, possibly a large shield. Why is that? Because I think I need the extra defense in order to balance the situation against a person who's got that reach advantage against me. So considering that what I want to do is to get closer, I need to be able to do that safely. So if I have a shield, of course I would advance with my shield in front, and would rather keep my sword either up here, you know, considering some possible strikes, or perhaps even lower, like with a point in front. Perhaps I could do that, I'm not sure. Another thing that I could try doing is something like this, perhaps trying to hide my sword so that perhaps if he goes for a strike towards my head, if he decides to do that, then I could kind of hire my shield and in the meantime try to attack. Depending on what shield I'm using, I could try to attack and counter-attack at the same time as I try to close in. Now, ultimately, if I had absolutely no access to a shield, or perhaps I was trying to use Japanese martial arts, which, as you know, do not include shields, then I would most likely, as I said, no Jodan no Kamae, I would go for a lower stance, perhaps try some feints. This is something that I use a lot, even when I use a polearm. I always feint to the head and attack the legs, or another thing that I tend to do a lot, and I notice that it's quite effective, is, for example, if I want to feint and attack you to the head, but in reality what I want to hit is your legs. I do this also when I use the spear. And what I will do, as we are sparring, I will keep on looking at your head, and then I'll fake as if I am going to overswing to attack your legs, and I will change target at the very last minute without looking. And I notice that this works a lot. Like perhaps it will not work on an expert like, I don't know, Matt Easton, so he will probably slice me in two if I try, but I'm just saying that it works on people with the same level as mine, or even a little bit more experienced. They most likely think that I'm making a mistake, overswinging or looking at the target of with too much intensity, and that's exactly what I wanted to think. I wanted to think that I am making a mistake, and at the very end I will strike with as quickly as possible their legs in order to incapacitate them. So that's something I would like to do. Alright then, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please remember thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for your support. And remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye.